So Democrats have a Joe Biden problem. And boy, do they have a solution. One Democratic strategist has the perfect candidate to save the party in 2024, who he calls, quote, an influencer in the purest form and a smart, photogenic congresswoman. So who may it be?
I know somebody who's going to turn 35 about a month before the election in 2024. And they represent New York's 14th.
If Democrats ditch their political equivalent of Yoda, they can save themselves a ton of headaches. With AOC, they won't have to worry about winning over the far-left base. She already embraces their platform.
Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it?
Talking about the reduction of our NYPD budget and defunding a $6 billion NYPD budget.
Inevitable! Inevitable!
Yes. Jill Biden can rest easy knowing she will no longer have to convince the American people that her husband is doing a good job and have to say things like, quote, I don't want to sound like a political ad, but we've done so much. Gas prices are a huge issue, and Joe is every single day on the phone talking to leaders about gas and oil. But I wish people could see more of what Joe has accomplished and how hard he's working. And Democrats won't have to be bothered with trying to answer this very tough question.
Do you want to see Joe Biden run for a second term?
She's got to go.
Yeah,
That's an easy question. That's not going to take long. Do you want to see Joe Biden run?
I don't want to answer that question because we have not, I don't want to answer that question.
I'm working on my own election, and that's all I'm focused on right now.
I'm not talking about the 2022 election and 2024. I have no control over those elections, and I'm not going to talk about them. That's all I'm not going to talk about.
You're a Democratic senator. I'm just asking you whether you would support your own.
Oh, jeez. But the one big thing she has over her fellow Dems, she's not old and decrepit. Here's Jerry Nadler in a debate last night making a curious boast.
And I have passed the two impeachments. In leading this, I've impeached Bush twice. First question is, the first thing about seniority. With seniority comes clout and the ability to get things done. That's the way Congress works. Seniority brings you clout. It brings you the ability to get things done. The second question, what was your second question?
I think we found someone who might actually be worse than Joe or Kamala, which raises the question, why is it that only the good people leave politics, but the bad never, ever go away? So, Jesse, we're not like the left. We don't, completely go into derangement syndrome over their talented leaders. We look at them, we examine them. And I think I can say that AOC has a skill set, but she's missing things like knowledge.
But with age comes wisdom, and she's pretty young. That's my nice way of saying she's not very smart. Yeah. She's like, when you pick a banana, and the banana's in your hand, and it's green, and then even if you try to peel it, it's still not even peeling.
Yes.
That's AOC. She's not ripe enough to run for president. First, she has to get married. She has to plan a wedding. Or you want to plan a wedding and run for president at the same time?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay, so then her husband would have to do it, and the wedding would stink.
Because she just got engaged.
She's engaged, yes. And then you have to get pregnant. So
why?
No. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. Just follow me, Greg. Once you get married,
I'm not following you.
Then you get pregnant, and then once you have the baby, you have a family.
Right.
And the media loves it. They eat it up. And it makes you more of a mature person. That's why you're so immature. You don't have any kids. So then after she has the family, then she runs for Senate. She runs for Senate in New York. You get to meet all the big-time donors. You get into the Senate, and then you're a force to be reckoned with at the hearings. And then she runs for president. Obama, first term from Illinois. That's the way to do it. Because right now she's not really seen as a serious person. She's childish. She fakes her arrest. She's giving makeup tips. But if you give it maybe, I would say 10 years, would that be 2032, then she'd be ripe enough to run for president. because she can't unify the party right now. Everybody in the party, most of them hate her.
Yeah.
And I think after 10 years, she could unify the party. But now, do you think she could today win a state like Michigan or North Carolina or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania? There's no way someone like AOC could do that.
I can see our producer right now just ran into traffic over there. I could see her. I could actually hear her screaming. So you basically.
No, that's the formula.
Harold. I told you, Henry. I was so overcome by his strategizing, Harold. We know what you mean. You're talking about you have to create some kind of appealing, I don't know, whatever. But Harold, I have a theory that like it's happening in a lot of industries, media and academia. A lot of people are leaving certain areas where there's wokeism, and the people that are left behind, that's all there is. And I think that's why you were here. You're not right. If you ran for president, you would win, but you're not running for president.
So
you think he'd win?
Oh, are you kidding me? Saying Democrat? Absolutely.
Absolutely not. Saying Democrat.
So I'll remind everybody, in 1982, when Ronald Reagan was president, there was a headline, an ABC News poll that came out right in the summertime about this time that said almost 60% of Americans did not want Ronald Reagan to seek re-election. 2 years later, he won 49 states, beating Walter Mondale. This may or may not happen with Joe Biden, but certainly there's time to do this. You can't have one op-ed by a political consultant whom I don't know saying that she's going to run for president, could be president. I think there's some things that Jesse said, a lot of elements that Jesse said is right. There's a maturing that you have to do in politics.
That's a better word than ripe.
There's a vision you have to lay out for the country. And with that, with time, you're able to do some of those things. I think that a number of us in the party who don't agree with some of the positions that some in that element of the party, wing of the party, the progressive wing, the positions they may take. Look at this guy, the positions they may take within the party, and whether or not those ideas are the ones that are going to sustain and help the country build. You think about what we're dealing with just yesterday with the Speaker of the House leading a delegation to Taiwan. The truth of the matter is we need a better, coherent, a new strategy as it relates to that region of the world. It needs to involve an effort that deals with trade, investment, national security, and human rights, and how you calibrate that. I've not heard, particularly those in the progressive wing, speak about these kinds of issues, speak about the kind of investments we need to make in our country. And if they do that, perhaps she could be a viable candidate, maybe next time or even 4, 6, 8 years from now. How would I know?
But you bring up Nancy Pelosi, Dagan. So you have the Speaker of the House, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how old she is. You got Joe Biden, whatever. Jerry Nadler. Isn't the appeal a bit to do with age? Isn't the real story here about new blood? Yeah. And you see this guy mistaking Trump for Bush, and he's just looks like a sickly windbag. And this is what we're dealing with.
But he has a lot of clout.
He has a lot of clout. That's what he's saying. He says, elect me because I've been here forever. Well, maybe go away.
Yeah, when I see Jerry Nadler, I always go, do I have stuff on my shoulders? Like, anybody who's ever seen Jerry Nadler knows what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So, as women do, I made a list of pros and cons, like where we're going to get a new guy or get a new dog. For AOC, a run for the presidency. The pros are she's a babbling brook of quotable quotes, like dope tropes, I call them. She's great at keeping lipstick off her teeth, which is really difficult. And she is the poster broad of meism. So you don't get into politics and run for the highest office in the land unless you're about yourself and not about the betterment of the American people, the betterment of all. Her biggest problem, and there's only one con, it's the fact that we know what an AOC presidency would look like. And the American people are already bearing the burden and feeling the pain of that because Joe Biden and company and the Democrats in the Senate and the House have completely lifted all of these left-wing ideas from AOC's clan. We have runaway inflation, a Federal Reserve aiding and abetting the politicians, sopping up, 3/4 of all the new debt. We have fossil fuels, our way of life, standard of living has completely been crushed. They're telling us to buy a 6-figure electric vehicle and go, what's the problem? Don't you love your SUV? And then open the borders, empty the prisons. Chaos, crime, and death. I guess the only good thing going for her is that she seems to be able to cry on cue as we witnessed at the border. So that might help her if she runs.
Last word, Katie. What do you think of this? Obviously, this was not a serious idea, but hey, slow news day, right?
Well, it's amazing how we're not talking about what a second Biden term would actually look like. First of all,
exactly.
Look, running for president isn't necessarily about winning the presidency. And if Pete Buttigieg can run for president, I think AOC can run for president. I mean, he was able to run for president after being a very terrible mayor of South Bend. He's now a cabinet member, still not great at his job. You know, AOC doesn't have a great record in Congress. She is ranked one of the worst in terms of getting legislation passed that she's introduced. In New York, she's dead last when it comes to all of the representatives in this state. But maybe she doesn't need that. She is charismatic. I don't think that Republicans should underestimate her. She has a social media presence. She knows how to get attention from the media, just like President Trump in certain ways. And so, you know, the party is shifting towards the left. The problem for her and the left right now is that America is running away from wokeism and they're losing their coalition. But in terms of her running, again, I don't see why she couldn't take the plunge.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, people, when they were pushing Trump, they were laughing about it. And who got the last laugh, right? So, you know, I think she's formidable. She just needs some maturing, Jesse.
Ripening.
Ugh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.